On this edition of the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast, we've got your Calgary Flames game preview. Plus, we're going to talk about Utah Hockey Club players at the World Juniors. How are they doing? What are they doing? How are their teams doing? All that and more coming your way in just a moment. The Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast starts right now.
You are Locked On Utah Hockey Club, your daily podcast on the Utah Hockey Club, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. I'm former NHL voice Tom Callahan, joined by longtime team analyst, as always, Robyn Leaño. We thank you for making us your first listen every single day when it comes to the Utah Hockey Club. If you're here and you're checking the show out for the first time, number one, thank you. Number two, if you like it, please follow along. Subscribe to the podcast, no matter how you are checking us out, whether it's YouTube or downloading it through your favorite particular player or app. And then, of course, click the notification bell on YouTube, and we'll let you know every time we drop a new episode. So today we talk about the Calgary Flames game coming up here, as the UHC on a northern Canadian road swing that actually ends up somehow in Dallas by the time the road trip is all said and done, Robyn. And then we've got some Utah players at the World Junior Championship scattered across a couple of different teams. A couple of the prospects are doing well, so we're going to get into that. But this is an interesting road trip. So Seattle loss, Edmonton loss, and two tough games, I think, for the UHC, Robyn. Now they head to Calgary, who just beat Vancouver, and this is the last game before they have to swing south to Dallas. And this might be the most winnable game of the trip so far. But where do you see this Utah Hockey Club right now in its current form?
Basically what you said for this game, being one of the most winnable games. It's, to me, I honestly, I kind of even clenched my teeth a little bit, because I was thinking in my head, and I'm like, at this point, I think I can't believe a win until I see a consistent string get strung along. Right, this team is just already done enough to me this season. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the highs and lows. I love the feeling of of hockey. That's hockey. But man, this team does something to me, Tom.
Well, and this is a very important game just from the standings alone. Calgary is in that second wild card spot. Dallas is in the first wild card spot. And it's pretty tight up through there. I mean, it's 43 points for Calgary right now. Utah Hockey Club's at 38 points. So it's a 5-point gap. They've both played 37 games so far. If you're going to catch teams to try to get in the playoff conversation, and make no mistake, that is still the goal. I know that people who listen to the show understand that, well, at least I'm certainly far more realistic about where I think they're going to end up. But if you're talking to anyone in that front office, or anyone on that coaching staff, or anyone in that locker room, the goal is still the playoffs.
Yeah, they always have this sight set on that. I think that's everyone's goal, right? No matter who you are. Heck, you can, I bet even if you were to talk to any player on the Anaheim Ducks or the San Jose Sharks, they'll tell you the same darn thing. Very different tone, mind you. They'll probably sound a lot more down about it because they know they have absolutely zero shot. Utah thinks they still do. I think that them as a team, I believe that they believe they still have a shot.
And there's a lot of hockey to play. Let's not put the cart before the horse. A lot of hockey to play. There is a lot of time to make up what is not a significant gap. But Robyn, back to the point of, you need to beat the teams in front of you if you're going to catch them, right? I mean, it's not hope other teams beat them, you get help, and then you're able to get up to them. But still, you have to win these games.
And this is the perfect opportunity to do it. You said Calgary right now, sitting in that second wild card spot, is the perfect opportunity to catch up to them is where you get 2 points and the other team doesn't. And how do you do that? Well, you play against them and win and beat them in regulation. That way, they don't get any points and you get a pair.
And at home, actually, Calgary's much better at home this year than they are on the road. At home, they've been pretty good. 13 wins for the Flames. Believe it or not, the 13 home wins is, just by my quick count here, tied for 4th among all teams in the Western Conference. So that's pretty darn good. Dallas has 14, Vegas has 15, and the other two teams with 13 home win, or pardon me, Winnipeg's also got 14 home wins. So the Kings have 13, the Oilers have 13 at home. So, I mean, that's pretty good company. All those teams are playoff teams.
Honestly, it doesn't surprise me that specifically Vegas and Winnipeg are up there. I've always been hearing, I have not stepped foot in those arenas in a hockey capacity, but I can, from my understanding, Tom, is those are two incredibly difficult barns to step into. Like it's like a whole different animal.
When you're in Vegas, you're in Vegas. There's no mistaking where you are. There's no mistaking who you're playing. And they also have a Stanley Cup banner in the rafters too.
Yep.
That kind of lends to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of wild to think of that, isn't it? Like, Vegas actually won a cup. That's crazy.
And they're still, for all intents and purposes, they are still a young team. They're still in its they're still in their childhood age as a franchise.
Which is where Utah is. I mean, this is baby steps this year as far as the Utah Hockey Club record book goes. But again, talking about where Utah is versus the Flames, Calgary is struggling for consistency as well on offense and on defense. They've scored 101 goals this year, which is not bad, but they've allowed 111, which is not good. And I mean, they're finding a way to beat teams, and they do. Honestly, the Pacific Division to me is kind of like the Quebec Major Junior League. I feel like there's going to be a lot more high scoring games there. So I guess that makes sense. But to me, Calgary, Dustin Wolf has been the key for them in net, and the Flames have a really, really good young goaltender in Wolf. He's the goalie of the future, and it's kind of interesting. You look at how they kind of budgeted so much money for Markstrom. And for a little while, they actually did have a really good run, but now they're coming back down to earth. Wolf has actually developed nicely, but Markstrom can become expendable. And the weird thing is, when they had that horrible crash and burn year last year, coming out of it, everybody this year is like, they're not going to be anything. And right now they're still a playoff team. No one saw that coming.
And those that are watching on YouTube know I made a couple of facial expressions when Tom mentioned Dustin Wolf. Those that are everydayers, those that are everydayers and been around for a little bit know, because the Tucson Roadrunners just over the this last offseason, and once the offseason for their postseason, Tucson Roadrunners were in the Calder Cup playoffs. They went against the Calgary Wranglers, the AHL team for the Calgary Flames in the first round. And who do they go against? They go against Dustin Wolf. And I wanted to pull my hair out, Tom, because the Roadrunners could not solve Dustin Wolf. And I feel like everyone says the same thing about this kid. He's going to be really good.
Yeah. I mean, that's, between Wolf and Vladar, I mean, they pretty much split the net this year, but Vladar is clearly number 2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, Wolf is 12-5-2, Vladar is 6-7-5. And the numbers aren't close. 261 versus 3.02, 914 versus 890. Although oddly, they both have 3 shutouts. It just, it was weird because as the Flames dismantled and as they pulled themselves apart, maybe it was addition by subtraction, which does happen to teams sometimes. And perhaps you shed some of that almost weight of expectation because you get rid of some of the big names, some of the ghosts of the past. And now you have to move forward with what you have. And it's kind of freeing. And I think that, especially with the hot start Calgary had this year, I think that was part of it.
And that's been shown to be the case. And, for, let's say, even an individual standpoint, let's take a look at, you could take a look at, the opposite effect, where one player who all of a sudden they get the spotlights on them. They're no longer a supporting cast. They're now main role. All of a sudden, the expectations is heavy on them. They look a little bit and it gets disappointing. When they revert back to quote supporting cast, oh whoa, look what happens. They all of a sudden are back where they should have been.
Right. Right.
It's
By
really
the way,
weird.
though, I was just curious. I wanted to see how Markstrom was doing with the Devils this year. He's 19-7-2, 2.15 and a 9.12. So he's doing just fine.
He's doing fine for himself. Yeah.
Yeah. He's
I mean,
doing
sometimes that's all you need. Like a team sometimes just needs to kind of like, just get a change of pace in net for themselves, and then whoever was in net, in this case Markstrom, just needs a breath of fresh air. Look at that. It worked out for him.
You know what's crazy? Remember when Markstrom left Vancouver? Everybody thought he was going to Edmonton, and then he went to Calgary, and everybody was surprised. Can you imagine if Markstrom had actually chosen Edmonton, and Edmonton ended up with that caliber goalie? They might have won a cup or two by now. And I mean, if I'm Markstrom, I'm probably kicking myself a little bit. Say, man, I could have went to Edmonton. With his goaltending, they might have won a Stanley Cup.
I always love looking at those hindsights. They're always fun.
Yeah, but oh well. So
Oh well,
we'll probably see Dustin Wolf.
Yeah, we'll definitely see Dustin Wolf. It's good, but don't feel. And then if you all feel the same way as I do, feel like you want to pull out your hair because of Dustin Wolf just being that good, don't worry, you're not alone. Anyways, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do our 3 keys of the game, as well as get some predictions, get our picks of the game, take a look at what the odds are. We'll do that right after this.
And today's show brought to you in part by Game Time. Surprise! I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. One of my favorite memories. I told you about it a couple of times on the show, but if you're new, again, welcome. Thank you for being here. But you might remember me talking about just going to the game at Fenway, getting the seats. I used the Game Time app, and it was fantastic. Just being able to sit a couple of rows from the field on the third base side was incredible. I got to see the seats before I ever sat in the seats. I turned on the all-inclusive pricing so I could see what it was. It was great. So now Game Time's making it even easier to get tickets to your favorite events with their new feature, Game Time Picks. This is cool. It features out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through all of the thousands of tickets that could be there. So I thought it was great. So again, by the way, they have a thing, the super deal. I want to talk about that because that is particularly impressive because it offers great seats at unbelievable prices and it highlights those for you. And again, the app's all-in pricing shows you the total cost up front. Toggle that on. That's a big deal. So no surprise fees at checkout. You know what you're going to pay. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem our code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Well, Robyn, we have a Game Time coming up here. First game of the new year. You know what? It's kind of a nice, that January 1 line. It's not the official halfway point of the season, but it's a nice line to reflect and look back. It's also a nice line to look ahead and figure out where you're going as a team and how you want to get there as a team. I think that's important. And Utah Hockey Club, whether they feel good or bad or indifferent or whatever they'd like to change, I'm sure they'd like to have more consistency in the lineup, but they have the chance to do it now going forward because this is an artificial reset in the middle of the season.
It is, and I mean, people love to use that, the joke, new year, new me, or whatever it is. But there really is something to be said about that break. About the what seems to be like that hard break between one actual calendar year and a new calendar year. Maybe some of these players set individual resolutions for themselves, like, hey, 2025, I'm gonna focus specifically on my puck handling. I'm not gonna give it up too easily or whatever it might be.
Right.
Every hockey every hockey player, every athlete does this. Take a look. It's like I want to work on this year, and that's kind of what helps out. I think in a kind of allows for that reset to happen.
So coming into this Calgary game, this is the big start to the rest of your season. Now they wrap up this road trip. So it's Thursday, 7:00 Mountain Time, and I'm assuming everybody's listening to this on Thursday. If you're catching it on Friday, the game already happened, and we'll have another podcast out by then. But 7:00 Mountain Time, they take on the Flames, and then Saturday, 6:00 Mountain Time, because they're in Central Time, taking on Dallas. But Robyn, the stretch that comes up after this, and this is why I say this is a big artificial reset, 7 in a row at home. Panthers, Sharks, Islanders, Canadians, Rangers, Blues, Jets, all at home. They have not played their best hockey at home, not consistently. This is their chance to establish Delta Center as a hard place to play, for them to show how much talent they really do have as a collective, and to turn the corner and put themselves into the potential conversation for being a playoff upstart. Remember at the beginning of the year when they were the sexy pick to come in 8th, and I was resisting that pressure, but everybody really liked this roster, and it hasn't gotten worse. It's just been banged up and injured, don't get me wrong.
But even regardless, still on paper, it still is a good team, even
It is.
with the injuries.
Yeah, and somehow, even with the injuries, they are floating near the wild card. But that's the problem. You start to think, well, once we get healthy, we'll be okay. But as I read over the injury report for this game, and I'm kind of cringing. You want to talk about cringing or talking about Dustin Wolf? I'm cringing when I read Bortuzzo out, Dursey out, Lamoureux out, Marino out. And then Clayton Keller still questionable, by the way. So I hope he feels better, but if he's not, don't rush it. One more game won't make a difference in the whole season, I don't think.
I'll tell
and
you.
I like Spicy Tuna's game. It's fun to see him out there.
Oh, it was fun to see him out there, and it seemed like a decent amount of you liked him out there too. Liked his like. I think everyone can agree to just love when that guy just he wears his heart on the sleeve, and you can see it.
Energy, effort, and enthusiasm. 3 big E's. So that's why you can easily
as long as he doesn't go too much into it and allows him to get himself into trouble, which he has done in the past.
Well, that's what getting older and wiser is all about, Robyn. Trust me.
Fair enough.
Trust me on that one. So, do we have the FanDuel odds? Let's take a look at the FanDuel odds.
Yeah, let's take a look at the FanDuel odds.
And then we'll get to our keys after that.
Yeah, absolutely. FanDuel odds right here. So Utah Hockey Club and Calgary Flames actually have the same exact money line odds on FanDuel at -110. If you look at the spread, the Flames are slightly favored by 1.5, but the odds are like not really it's not a worth bet for that. It's like it's like -280 or something like that, Tom. So there's that, and then the total points at 6.5.
So that's kind of like in the NFL, they give you a field goal for being at home. I think they give you a goal for being at home in the NHL, essentially. So that's probably why the money line is so close on that. The over at 6.5. I don't see an over in this game, but stranger things have happened.
If Dustin Wolf is in that, it's not what we're saying. Veggie should be back. So if it's Dustin Wolf versus Karel Vejmelka, honestly, I am taking the under on this game.
And Stauber played well against Edmonton. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I'm not. It's not. It is. That's not a dock on Stauber at all. I think I'm just saying
he's your number. Veg is your number one.
Veg is number one, and Veg has been phenomenal for a good portion of this season.
Yeah, his numbers are really good. And again, contract year. I'm going to keep bringing that up. It's contract year. So
trade day.
Well, it could be. Can you imagine him as a rental goaltender for a playoff team that is? Can you imagine him in Edmonton?
Oh yeah,
that would be interesting.
I know maybe you diehard Utah fans who want to see this, want to see someone like Veggie grow in the system. This is hockey. Hockey is a lot more volatile than maybe if you're a Jazz fan and whatever, things move around a little bit more in basketball. But
could be Bukestad Part 2. Maybe you'll boomerang. Come on back.
I
You
would
never
love
know.
to see that. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens at the deadline. It's going to be interesting. I can't wait till we start getting into our deadline shows. I love that stuff. I am going to be all over that. I'm so excited for that. I cannot wait.
We're gonna get into some trade scenarios and everything. It's gonna be great.
Yes, I love tracking that stuff. So, keys to the game, Robyn. What do you have circled?
So keys to the game. I think. I mean, it's to me. I think the easiest one. We've talked about this in the past, Tom. And they've done a good job of doing it so far. I just want to see them continue the trend. Is to stay out of the box. Look, I said it earlier in the season, Tom, that this team was, and I'm not sure, I haven't checked the exact stats on penalty minutes lately, but for a while they're still the most penalized team in the National Hockey League. They just took so many penalties, and a lot of them were super dumb penalties. Stay out of the box, minimize those penalty minutes. It's going to allow this team to keep that momentum going. Like, yeah, they're going to have a hard time against Dustin Wolf, and if you're a man down, like you have less of a chance of solving him in net.
Having been in almost every NHL building to either call a game or be there to witness a game in person. Actually, I think the only one I haven't is Pittsburgh. Oh, and the New Islanders building. But I can tell you this about Calgary. Calgary is really hard to win at Calgary.
The way the Saddle Dome is built, does that create that? Does it funnel the noise down?
Oh, it's loud. The fans are awesome. They love their team. Like, it is just it's a killer atmosphere. It's a great place to watch a hockey game, and awesome old school sight lines. I'll be sad when that building's gone. I know a lot of people won't, but I will. Honestly, though, it's. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, it's gonna be weird when they move into their new building when that's supposed to happen. I don't have the year on me exactly, but
yeah, it'll be another old building with character gone by the wayside in favor of something new, and well, they're not as cookie cutter as they used to be, but sometimes they just lack personality. So hopefully that's not the case for their new spot. For me, Robyn, so talking about how difficult it is to win in Calgary, not only is it about weathering that storm of the first period, first 5-10 minutes is going to be critical to this game, but Utah needs to figure out a way to carry, because I think they have done it good, or they've done well at playing the first period on the road. They've had good road first periods. They've had terrible road second periods.
Oh, yeah.
Let's keep it going now. Like, the way you started that game, punch, counter punch, let's carry that into the second period. And it just hasn't happened much this season. So instead of, the typical, hey, 5-10 minutes, weather the storm, you're on the road and you're in a hard place to win, they're okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's that middle 20 minutes that will decide this hockey game, whether or not they take a nap, or whether or not they are able to find some resurgence. It hasn't happened much this year, but when they do, they're able to win games.
Yeah, they are, and I think we have seen that. I mean, I've still yet to see a complete 60-minute game. I've seen a 50-minute game, and that still gets them enough. That's still barely enough to get them a win. But I think this team is capable of a 60-minute game. I want to see it where they go full on through and they build off the momentum. They can definitely do it. But Tom, what I also want to add too is you mentioned Clayton Keller is still listed as quote questionable, and it made me to think about this: is make sure you can get, and it sounds cliche, quote next man up, because take a look at whoever else is on the leaders. So like whether it's looking at Schmaltz or Krause, or heck, you even look at the goal scorers. Can Logan Cooley or Dylan Gunther or Barrett Hayton or whoever you want to see score more? Heck, let's even see some more scoring from Kevin Stenlund.
My boy.
But it's actually next man up. So we see who can take Keller's place in the short term. If he's out for another game, right? You need someone to fill his shoes, because we're talking about one of, if not the best player on this team out with an illness, you got to be able to replace that level of productivity.
Right. Absolutely. And that's hard to do. So, yeah, I would love to see guys step up. Robyn, I was curious. So I looked up the splits in the second period. Utah's worst period as far as four goals against goes. Their fewest goals for 31, their most goals against 45. So they're minus 14 in the second period. In the first period, they're actually plus 10. They have scored 33 in the first and allowed only 23 in the first. So that's actually a pretty nice little differential. But to be minus 14 in the second period, that just underscores the point I'm making. So, hey, guys, carry that over. Carry that over.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, what we're going to do, Tom, well, actually, let me hear a score prediction from you.
Score prediction. I'm going to go low scoring. I think 2-1. Maybe 3-1 with an empty netter, but I think it's a low scoring game.
Yeah, I'm going to be with you. Honestly, I think this is going to be, actually, no, I'm going to give this one a 2-1 game. I could see a well-played chess match between these two goalies, and I'm gonna be here for it. I normally love like offensive games, but I'd be here for a chess match between Wolf and Veggie. Let's do it.
That'd be fun. I'm in. Let's make it happen.
What we're gonna do, Tom, is let's jump off from this game, and after this quick break, let's talk some World Juniors. Maybe some of you are wondering what's going on the world stage and some of the prospects. We're gonna talk about that right after this. Hey, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a dub, which I love betting on, which players will score a touchdown or how many, points will each team score. It's absolutely thrilling. Let's put it this way, guys. Coming up this weekend, over here where I live in Arizona, the Arizona Cardinals are going to be hosting the San Francisco 49ers. Maybe I'm going to take a bet on that. Maybe I'm going to take a bet on how many yards of receiving yards is George Kittle going to have, or exactly what's the spread going to be between the 49ers and the Cardinals. How's that game going to go? Who knows? Maybe I can place the bet on FanDuel and have a lot of fun doing so. Just check it out you guys yourself. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League.
All right, Robyn, wrapping it up here. I want to talk World Juniors. The Utah Hockey Club have several players at World Juniors. So what I want to do is talk about the players for Utah that are there, and then we're going to talk about the standings and what's going on. So there's a couple players playing for Czechia right now, and Vojtek Hradec is one of them. 7 points.
Yeah.
And that's right now the third highest scorer of the tournament, tied for third in scoring in the tournament. That's an awesome tournament so far for Hradec. So that's fantastic. Glad to see that, he's really producing. And then also for Czechia is Michael Hrabal, and fourth best save percentage right now of the tournament out of anybody. So the only game that they didn't start him was against Kazakhstan, which was a walk, to be quite frank. So, I mean, Kazakhstan has not had a good tournament. But, Hrabal's played well for Czechia and playing with UMass in college this year. He's got pretty decent numbers there. So good to see those two guys doing well. And another goaltender, Melker Thielen for Sweden. Sweden is unbelievable in this tournament. They're 4-0. And Thielen's numbers aren't even great. 3-0 goals against, 890 save percentage. Doesn't matter because Sweden's walking over everybody. And again, the only game he didn't play was Kazakhstan. So both goaltenders are their stud starters for both teams. Viti Väisänen, one of my favorite names, playing for Finland, more of a shutdown defenseman, but he does have an assist in the tournament. Finland's looking pretty good right now as well. And then Cole Baudouin is on Team Canada, which is awesome to see as well. He's got 1 assist to his credit in the tournament, but I'll tell you what, he has been the straw that stirs the drink on more than one occasion for Canada. He is not afraid to mix it up. I love it. Heart and soul guy, and I can absolutely see why Utah Hockey Club picked him. So that's a quick update on what's going on with the Utah Hockey Club players in the tournament. And you know what, I mean, Robyn, this is a huge time of year. It's okay. In the United States, I'm going to be honest, I don't think many people care about World Juniors. But in Canada, people care. And in Europe, people really, really care about the World Junior Championship. It's a huge stage.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And look, I'll say this. The only time if you're here in the US and actually really care about it is if you are like a diehard hockey fan and maybe you're a reporter like us or whatever, and you're going deep into those and want to watch all the prospects. I'm not, I'd say, a diehard, but I have gotten to the habit. This is the first year I actually haven't done it a whole lot, but of watching the World Juniors almost every single year. I started doing it. I think I was working. I had a seasonal job working at a theme park, a winter theme park in the Bay Area, back in the Bay Area where I grew up. And it was in the sports bar because I was one of the only ones old enough to serve alcohol. What was on at the time, because there was nothing else on in December, I was like, you know what? Let's put on some winter sports. I'm going to put on hockey, and World Juniors was on, and towards the end of the shift, I'd be cleaning up the bar, and I would just turn up the volume, listening to Team USA try to go for gold, and that's how I got hooked to it, and I've barely missed games ever since.
Yeah,
it's an exception, but
it's so much fun though. It's a big stage. It is a global spotlight. You get to really see character develop in those situations. So I think it's great that Utah Hockey Club's got a bunch of guys who are out there playing for their respective countries right now in the World Juniors. So real quick, the standings, the United States leads Group A. They're done with preliminaries now, and we'll talk schedule in a minute. But USA finished with 3 wins and 1 overtime loss. That's 10 points. They led Group A. Then it was Finland with 8 points, Canada 7 points, Latvia 4 points, Germany only 1 point. They are not moving on. Sweden dominated Group B 4-0, 12 points. That's the max. Then it was Czechia, 3 wins and a loss, 9 points. Then you had Slovakia, 1 win, 1 overtime win, and 2 losses for 5 points. Switzerland, 1 win, 3 losses for 3 points. And then Kazakhstan, as I mentioned, they had 1 overtime loss, and they had 3 regulation losses, only 1 point. So they are out. Schedule coming up here is so today, Thursday, if you're listening to this, you've got Latvia, Sweden, Switzerland at the United States, Slovakia at Finland, Canada at Czechia. Once those games are played, then we're going to figure out what the matchups are coming up on Saturday. So that's where we're at right now.
Those are going to be some fun matchups, though. And I think that's when most people start. This is around when most people start paying attention to the World Juniors. Like, if you didn't pay attention to the group stage, which honestly I don't blame you if you didn't. It just, like, for the most part, it's round robin. People love to watch the knockout stage. This is where it gets interesting.
Right. Canada, Czechia could be the game of the day. That could be a really, really intense battle.
Oh, that's going to be a very intense battle. And I feel like I have a feeling a decent amount of Americans who do watch are going to go ahead and cheer for Czechia, because the Canadian-U.S. rivalry, Tom, it is something else. I love it.
It's always nice to be Canada head-to-head, though, you know.
Oh, that's even better. I mean,
yes.
For what it looks for what Canada, U.S. is in men's, though, I will be honest with you. If anyone ever gets a chance to watch Canada versus U.S. in women's hockey, whole different kind of experience.
Yeah, it gets ugly fast.
Yes.
It really does.
Amazing, though. I love it.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Robyn, that'll wrap it up, I guess, for us for today's show. But I mean, a lot to look forward to. Talking about World Juniors. If you want hockey during the day, I'm sure you can find some feeds of that out there. But then we've got the Calgary game on Thursday night. It's a big one. And you know what? It's a big day heading into the weekend here and trying to wrap up this road trip and pick up some points where they can.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But if any of you do have NHL Network, it's very likely you'll be able to watch on those on that channel.
Yes.
By the way, just giving you the heads up. That's where you'll be able to watch games. Otherwise, those I know a lot of you guys have other methods, which I will not share on here.
Yar. Yes.
Anyways, that's going to be it for this episode of the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to leave us a review, like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We are on Instagram, Threads, and X at LO_NHL Utah. We're also on Blue Sky at Locked On Utah Hockey. I am personally at Robyn_Leaño on X, also on Blue Sky at Robyn Ice Time. Tom Callahan, you can follow him on Blue Sky only at Tom Talks.
Tom Talks, that's right. You know what? The Twitter page is still going to be there. I'm just not really paying attention to it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some auto posting on there. Every time we put up a show, I'm going to auto post to it. I'm going to keep it alive because I think maybe in a couple years, if the whole platform doesn't melt down and burn to a crisp,
maybe the actual Twitter will reemerge.
Yes, Twitter may reappear, but for the time being, yeah,
that's fair. That is absolutely fair. But you guys can interact with us, ask us any question you have. We'll interact right back or on a future episode of the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. Once again, thanks everyone for listening to this episode, and we'll see you guys next time.